He has officially done it. Pete, Ritual, and Cold have just had the perfect Cash Cup season, winning every single Cash Cup finals. Now, talk about what I think this means for grand finals. I want to talk about how some of the other teams did as well. Our first chance to see Clix's new team, Kanata's new team, Acorn's new team on NA. We also had our EU Spawn Battle Fest. It was insane. We had Cammy going up against the Frenchies. We had Rezon and Yanis griefing each other. Whole bunch of drama breaking down there. And we have FNCS starting in about 3 days. And a lot of people don't even understand how the format works. So I'm going to break down the format to make sure you guys know what's going on, because you can play FNCS even if you aren't Division 1. And a lot of people are confused about that. So there's a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. Whether you love it or hate it, Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot have just had the perfect Cash Cup season. They've won every single trio Cash Cup finals this season. You have to remember, I think they won the first 2 to start off last season. So they've won 8 trio Cash Cup finals in a row. It is absolutely ridiculous. But if you didn't watch today, and I know what you're thinking, oh, cool, FNCS is over, Aussie, there's no point watching. Cool, you're just telling me that NA is just Peterbots and it doesn't matter. Well, yes, they won, but if you watch the tournament, you know that it was actually really close. The leaderboard doesn't show it too much. I mean, it's still somewhat close by Peterbot standards. Only 72 points, only 72 points in it. I mean, hey, come on, anyone could have won it. But going into the last few games, it was extremely close. And for most of the tournament, Peterbot actually wasn't in first. It was because of a 14 elim win in the second last game and a 7 elim win in the last game that really catapulted Peterbot's team ahead of Vidil, Cooper, and Sphinx. They almost had them. Now, I keep pointing this out, and I'm going to talk in depth about the FNCS format later in the video. If you don't know how the FNCS format works, don't worry, I'm going to explain all of it. But the issue here, though, is the FNCS Grand Finals format is even more beneficial to Peterbot's playstyle. I've been saying it all season. For a team to beat Peterbot, they're going to have to be more consistent on placement, but they're going to have to rack up some elims as well. Vidil, Cooper, and Sphinx had an average placement of 4th in 6 games of a set lobby finals and an average elims of 6.7. Now, Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot's placements were worse. They had an average placement of 4.67, but they have an average elims of 10. They just absolutely run through these final lobbies, and in grand finals, elims go from being worth 3 points like they are now to 4. So it's going to be very interesting to see if a team can stop Peterbot coming into grand finals. But remember, there is 2 land spots up for grabs for NA. So even if you truly think Peterbot is just going to run away with grand finals, it's going to be 100 points in the lead, it's not going to matter. It is still going to be very exciting to see who takes the second place. And if you go through the rest of the leaderboard, there are so many good teams on NA vying for that second spot right now. Sounds crazy, I'm saying that, but genuinely, that's the point we're at because of that. But you got to give credit to Peterbot. They just had a flawless season. If they can now pull off a grand finals win, that is literally the perfect season in Fortnite. Now, I talked about Vidil, Cooper, and Sphinx played absolutely phenomenally, extremely good gameplay out of this team. Then we had Aegis, Acorn, and Poyo, the first of our new trios to take the 3rd spot overall. An up and down day for them for the most part, but they had a 6th, 1st, 6th, and then they had a 14th, 13th, and 12th. So a few more of those games, if they just didn't go down, they got that extra refresh, they could have easily converted those into top 3s and overtaken Cooper, maybe potentially Peterbot. We'll see. They did have a 10 and 12 elim game. So Aegis, Acorn, and Poyo showing they do have the firepower to W key in these lobbies as well. Then we had Muzz, Yapko, and Rise. A lot of questions. Who was going to come out on top? Clix's old team, Clix's new team. Muzz, Yapko, and Rise did take the 4th spot on 302 points and also had 2 11 elim 4th. So I don't know whether the Clix curse is following them a little bit there, but 2 11 kill games is a very big deal because, again, it shows they can W key. Now, Clix, Batman, Booga, and Iomzo weren't too far behind themselves in 5th place overall. Extremely consistent placement, 9th, 7th, 5th, 12th, 3rd, and 4th. The problem was, again, their elims. They only had an average elims of 5, but they did have an average placement inside the top 7, which is really solid. And you have to remember, those 3 trios I just talked about are brand new trios. This is their first finals together. You have to imagine they're only going to get better from here. Speaking of, we have Noxy, Virgo, and Curly in 6th, Quanti, Byler, and Edgy in 7th, Rapid, Kanata, and Bolt in 8th. All brand new trios. So outside of Vidil and Peterbot's teams, the next 6 teams are all the brand new trios, and they're all doing extremely well. To round out the top 10, we also had Golden and Nut. I want to pick out a few more big names out of the leaderboard. We had Bucky's team coming in 12th overall. Now, if you're watching Bucky's stream, you know how frustrated he was. He's actually gone on social media to say that he is not going to be streaming until after grand finals. He's locking in that hard for FNCS. Now, we'll see whether Bucky was just feeling that in the moment. He might take that back. He might go live. Maybe he'll stream other stuff, but he just won't stream his tournament games. Not really sure. Craze kept streaming the rest of the Cash Cup, so maybe we'll be able to watch through Craze's stream. It's just Bucky who won't stream, but you could tell he wasn't happy with their 12th place. Despite being a good placement, it wasn't up to Bucky's standards and he wants to do better. We do have a few of the bigger teams I was expecting to do well struggling down the leaderboard. Aviv, Booga, and Threats in 17th place overall. We had Reet, Vert, and Chance in 21st. They were contested. I will give them credit for that one as well. We had Seti, Hari, and Cammy. Again, EU team. I'll talk about them more when we talk about EU. But across the board, it was a very exciting NA finals, and it really did have me super gassed for FNCS. Remember, FNCS is beginning in only like 3 or 4 days from now. Before I break down the FNCS format, I want to go through EU's leaderboard, and if you can tell right now, there's a big difference between the NA leaderboard and the EU leaderboard. The points. First place on EU was 319 points. So if you need to see what I've been telling you about the fact that all the NA teams, a lot of them are phenomenally good, they're just not as good as Peterbot. 319 won it. That wouldn't have even gotten 3rd place on NA. Ritual Cold Peterbot won with 457. Vidil had 385. Aegis had 320. There's 3 NA teams who got more points than 1st place on EU. Now, whatever you think about whether EU has better pros, harder lobbies, NA has harder lobbies, it still goes to show that there is the top NA teams are dominating. It just doesn't look like it as much because Peterbot's always that much further ahead of them. But I do want to give full credit to iDrop, Sky, and Scroll finishing on 319 points. This was a super exciting finish over on EU. An absolute nail biter, as you can see from the leaderboard. Vanya, Pixie, and Marius were less than an elimination behind them. And you have to remember, they also got a 9 elim second in their last game. Going into the last game, it was neck and neck. There was 5 teams who could potentially take it, especially when iDrop went down in 13th place. Vico's team went down in 10th place. Malibuca went down in 11th place. So it was all eyes on Vanya, Pixie, and Marius, whether they could overtake. They got a 9 elim second. If that was a 10 elim second, they would have won the Cash Cup. So NA, bit of a blowout. I get it. You might be saying NA's not worth watching. P's gonna win it all. But EU has been extremely close and very exciting. It's really hard to separate these top teams on EU and pick a favorite to win it, especially when our usual favorite, Vico, Veno, Flixie, ended up coming 3rd overall on 308 points. They had those like games where they kind of got moving, 10 elim 6th, but they just couldn't get the momentum going and they couldn't get the consistent placement. They got a 9 elim win, which really helped their placement. But outside of that, the rest of their games, they looked very uncharacteristic. Now, I'm not sure if anything was going on here. Vico has also just missed out on making solo finals 2 weeks in a row. I'm pretty much going to take personal responsibility here. I reached out to Vico. I was like, yo, bro, you've been popping off in solos. Next finals you do well in. Let's make a VOD review video for my React channel. We'll talk through your gameplay. I cursed him. He's now not made a single finals in the last 2 weeks. I'm taking full responsibility. I don't think this team is going to fail under the pressure. Vico and Flixie have just recently won an FNCS when they had a lot of pressure on them. Veno has been around these parts before. I think Vico, Veno, Flixie will bounce back from this coming into FNCS. I think they'll be firing on all cylinders. We had Ping, Wox, and Malibuca in 4th place overall, just behind Vico, Veno, Flixie. They played extremely well. They got a 13 elim win in the first game, got 2 third places, but unfortunately had a few kind of like early end game deaths, a 13th, 17th, and 11th. If they fix those up, they should be looking really good. A name that I love seeing on the top of leaderboards, Tayson, in 5th place overall. Didn't unfortunately get any wins, but did get a 6 elim second. They came in 5th overall. Then we had our Polish trio, Kombek, Blaha, and Mixon. Country, Finnick, and Uppel. Now, I don't know too much about this team. I was actually watching their streams. They are looking extremely good in 7th place for a very underrated trio. Then we had Swizzy, Queasy, and Mustache, who were contested. All games, they were contested by Mumsy's team, 6 out of 6, and still came 8th place overall. Super impressive. Then we had Dexy's team in 19th with Giras and Firen. And then speaking of contested, Seti, Hari, and Cammy, the other Polish trio, contested on spawn by Akira. I talked about that recently in a video. Basically, at the end of last chapter, Cammy and Seti were contesting Akira. They were already qualified for globals, and they spent their grand finals pretty much making Akira's team regret dropping on them. Turns out now it looks like Akira is trying to repay the favor. Now, Akira's team did unfortunately have a much worse day off spawn against Seti, Hari, and Cammy, but they've said they're not leaving. You've made it personal. We are not leaving. Apparently, Mumsy's team has said the same to Queasy. They are not leaving either. And then the other big spawn fight I wanted to talk about, which I've been kind of teasing in my videos, Chap, Yanis, and Noah Riley up against Rezon, Kiddo, and Cheatin. Now, Yanis did get the better of them. Yanis finished off in 16th overall, so did finish ahead of Rezon overall on the leaderboard, who finished in 32nd overall. Brutal day for Rezon. It really does suck seeing Rezon that far down the leaderboard, but the fight is just such a weird one. They try to drop into Mars Meadows. They try to go underneath and take the basement loot. It doesn't really work out. It seems to be griefing both the teams for the most part. I don't know whether Rezon is going to leave. He did say going into this that he doesn't care about FNCS. He's streaming it all. He's making the content. He's making the bag, and he does just want to keep dropping on Yanis's team. So I guess we'll see whether that sticks or not. Now, last thing before the FNCS format, and this is big news. We have our first person being officially banned for playing alongside a cheater, and it's none other than Sommerset. She has been banned for 28 days. Now, if you don't know what this rule is about, to make this very clear, Sommerset has not cheated. Fortnite put a rule in where if you were played with a cheater and the cheater got banned, you would also be punished for 28 days. This seems super harsh, but we had a period where I made multiple videos where it's becoming a huge issue where every single tournament we had players queuing up with known cheaters because either they somehow made money and the cheater didn't get banned and they got paid, or maybe they made money but the cheater ended up getting banned, so they got disqualified, didn't make the money, but they wouldn't have made it anyway. There wasn't really any punishment to playing alongside cheaters. So we had some decent players, some actually good players who have earned a lot of money in the past, playing alongside people who are known cheaters because it increased their chance of making money. Fortnite, to combat this, cracked down with this rule to really punish people. Now, the issue is they specifically said you don't have to know they were cheating to still be punished. If you play with a cheater and you have no idea they were cheating, you're going to get punished. And that's exactly what's happened to Sommerset here. I am 100% sure that Sommerset had no idea this person was cheating. She has way too much to lose. Why would she risk it? She's played all of these games with this person on stream. Clearly, there was no sign of cheating. I didn't see anyone point out they thought either of these players were cheating. So it is just one of those cases where it was just someone who was playing alongside her. They seemed pretty good. Turns out they were good because they were cheating. But what does that leave us for Sommerset now? Do I think she should be unbanned? Now, this is an extremely tough one because I'm quite close with Sommerset. I feel extremely bad for her. If this was me and I was just competing for content and for fun, I would be devastated. But if Epic now roll back this ban, it opens up this weird thing with this rule where it's like you can just say you didn't know. Now, obviously, Sommerset is a great example, has been competing for years now, shown no issues whatsoever, streamed all of this, and I think would be one of the last people would expect to be playing alongside a cheater. But Fortnite made the rule very, very clear. But then again, how can you ever know 100% the person you're playing with is not a cheater? Most people have to find their teammates through Discords, or maybe they find them through a friend, or they play scrims one time. How can you 100% know they're not cheating? Even pro players wouldn't know if their teammate did actually randomly start cheating one day. So to be punished for 28 days seems a little bit crazy, but Epic had to take drastic measures because the amount of people playing with cheaters was off the charts. Now, they've done a lot of other measures to cut back on cheating in general, which has helped a lot, but this rule definitely played a big part of that. And I'm interested to see what Epic does because I truly do not know. I can see it from both sides. If Epic unbanned Sommerset now, knowing that truly she didn't know she was playing with a cheater and they feel bad, that then makes the rule kind of like a, yeah, if you're playing with a cheater and you don't know, you'll get banned, but if we really trust you, you'll get unbanned. But then if this was just a random person, they wouldn't get unbanned. But then again, I fully see it from Sommerset's POV where she is obviously going to be devastated. She's just grinded her way to Div 1. She's ready to play FNCS. She truly had no idea this person was cheating, and now she can't play. So it is a very, very tough situation. How Epic handles this is going to be big for competitive Fortnite. All right, let's talk about the FNCS format. It kicks off in a few days. I keep talking about how even if you aren't in Div 1, you can still play FNCS, and people keep getting confused about the format. So let me run through it. So play-in stage, this is only for Division 1 players. There is going to be Day 1 and Day 2. Anyone in Division 1 can play. It's going to be 3 hours, 10 games on Day 1, 3 hours, 10 games on Day 2. The top 99 teams from that are going to move on into the group stages. So see play-ins as like the open stage, and then group stage is like semi-finals. The group stages, you're going to be seeded into one of 3 groups. You're going to be seeded based on your placement, but I wouldn't worry about that too much because I don't think it's going to have a massive impact on the groups. But what needs to be made clear is you're only playing in one group. It's not like you play Group 1, and if you do poorly, you go down to Group 2. Group 1, 2, and 3 are separate tournaments. You're going to be put into one of those 3 tournaments, and that's all you get to play. The way you're going to make grand finals from groups is you either have to come top 5 on the leaderboard at the end of the 5 games, or you have to get one of the 5 wins. So there's going to be 15 teams that move through from the Victory Royales, and then 15 teams move through from being top 5 in each of their groups. Now, the last chance qualifier. This is open to everyone in any division, Division 1, 2, or 3. So pretty much any team who doesn't qualify through the regular play-ins and groups in Div 1, they're going to play this. And anyone in Division 2 and 3, this is your only chance to make grand finals. It is going to be a 3-hour tournament, 10 games open to anyone. And then the top 33 teams are going to move on into the finals. The last chance qualifier finals is going to be 3 games. If you win one of those 3 games, you go straight through to grand finals. So yes, your chance of making grand finals through last chance qualifier is going to be extremely difficult, but even if you aren't Division 1, you can still play in FNCS. You get to play this round. Finals is very standard. It's going to be a 2-day format. There's going to be 6 games each day, but there is not a 1.5 times multiplier on day 2. Day 1 and day 2 is the same. It's 65 points for a win. Each elimination is 4, which, like I've talked about, is a lot of points for eliminations when you currently have teams like Peterbot dropping 20 bombs in finals. I want to clear up some other questions you guys might have that I keep getting a lot. Is it region locked? Yes, you can only play on one region lock. Are you locked to play in with your team? Yes, once you start play-ins, you are locked in with your teammates for play-ins and group stages, but if you play play-ins and your teammates suck and you want to drop them, you can play with different teammates in the last chance qualifier. This is going to be very spicy because a lot of these pros who are still trying to find their team right now, they are locked in except for those 3 spots for last chance qualifier. So if you queue up with teammates that you don't fully believe in and you don't do well, you're really leaving yourself a very small chance of making grand finals. One thing I only really thought about today, which is going to be super interesting, if you're a team like Peterbot, let's use an example right now. Let's say Peterbot gets first in the play-ins, he goes through into group stages, he goes into group 1, and then he wins game 1. That's it. He now goes through to grand finals. He's just played 2 days of opens, 3 hours each, that's 6 hours of Fortnite, and then won 1 game, and he's now in grand finals. I don't truly know how to feel about that. There is also going to be kind of the RNG of group stages where you might just get seated into a group with another team that drops on you. Let's say Mr. Savage gets put in the same group as Mixon. That is going to massively reduce his chance of doing well. You will assume that a lot of these teams are actually going to take other drop spots. No one's going Flooded Frogs on E or NA because Vico and Peterbot are dropping there, but they're only going to be in one of the 3 groups. And then even then, if they win their game and go straight through to grand final, the drop is now up for grabs. So a lot of your teams that might not have a drop spot locked down, like Savage, Mongol, and Panzer, they have a really good chance of just taking one of these other good drop spots and doing well from there, which could be quite interesting. This FNCS format is by far the shortest we've ever had. From play-ins until grand finals being done is 18 days. FNCS is started and finished in 18 days. The last format where it went for like 5 weeks with a massive break in the middle, I think was awful, but I would kind of like to go back to a format where it feels more substantial, like maybe like 4 weeks long. Even if you put the prize pool from the current FNCS Divisional Cup finals into a qualifier prize pool, it could be really cool. Like we could have, 3 weeks of the Divisional Cup finals and the series points from all of those are combined, and that's how you get into semifinals or grand finals. It makes it feel a bit more substantial. I'm excited to see how it plays out. I think it's going to be really hype because it is so condensed and it's really, really quick and it starts and it's done. I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of streams and a bunch of YouTube videos to keep you guys up to date, but I hope that made the format make sense.